Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Gopijana Balava Girivanadari Gopijana Balava Girivanadari Jasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Vajjana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Bhanatari Jamuna Tira Bhanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Gopijana Balava Girivanadari Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Bhanatari Jamuna Tira Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Boom! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Boom! Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariva Jagacharya Satat Shisham His Divine Grace Abhay Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Anandakota Vaishnava Brinda Ki Namacharya Shridas Thakur Ki Prem Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadada Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Brinda Ki Say Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mathura Dham Ki Dwarka Dham Ki Navadip Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Chumanamai Ki Gangamai Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samveda Bhakti Vinda Ki Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Siddhara Giridhari ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga ki, Gopremanande. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to Divine Lord Sita, Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. So before we start, today is Odana Sastri, and I thought I would read a little bit. Now, I have a short excerpt, so I'm going to read, because we do want to cover some other ground. I have the short version, which is Prabhupada's commentary in the purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then we also have, there's a further explanation, elaboration in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So I printed that out, and you Prabhus can check it. There's a lot of the intimate dealings between Pundarik Vidyanidhi and Surup Damodar, Lord Chaitanya's personal servant and or assistant, secretary. So there's a lot about Vaishnava dealings in here that's very good. So but we don't have time to go into it today. We'll do that some other time. But just from Prabhupada's, this is from the Madhya Lila, chapter 16, verse 78 in the purport. At the beginning of winter, there is a ceremony known as Odana Shasti. This ceremony indicates that from that day forward, a winter covering should be given to Lord Jagannath, just like we have our deities in a nice wool chadars. That covering is directly purchased from a weaver. According to Archana Marg, a cloth should be washed to remove all the starch. Then it can be used to cover the Lord. It shouldn't be scratchy and stiff. It should be nice and soft, because are the deities just marble, or is it actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What do you think, Bhakti Alex? Yeah, we don't worship like Prabhupada says, you have a statue of so-and-so, and then all year long it sits out there and the birds pass stool on it, and then once a year they come and Prabhupada says they scrub with a municipal brush and do not even offer a sandwich. So that's not, they offer a garland some people come, say some poetry, and then the rest of the 364 days of the year, the birds are passing stool on his head. But Krishna's real. So there it is. So that's, and then let's see what Prabhupada says further. On the occasion of the Odana Shasti festival, the deities are colorfully dressed in the finest of silks, with beautiful golden jewelry inlaid with precious gems. Garlands, bracelets, earrings are all made from fragrant seasonal flowers, further bedeck their lordships. All kinds of ornaments made out of flowers, fragrant flowers. There's practically a festival every day in deity worship. So let's see. Scented oil, incense, flowers, ghee lamps, and 16 different items for special worship are offered to Lord Jagannath on this day. Grand and opulent offerings of prasadam are also made continually. Sri Gaura Hari observed these festivities with his devotees, and then feeling great joy and satisfaction, returned home. So that's what happened on this day. Now, Srila Pundarik Vidyanidhi, this is from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya Lila 10. Srila Vidyanidhi had doubts regarding the starched dresses that Jagannath was wearing, and he asked Sri Swarup Damodar, why do they dress the Lord in starched clothing without first washing them? Here, in this land, the people are so conscious about scriptural rules, and yet in the scriptures, are not starched clothes considered unclean? Swarup Damodar responds, here, no one faults this practice since it is considered part of their religious tradition. Those who strictly follow scriptural rules may not completely agree with this, but this tradition is an integral part of the local festivities. Besides, if the Lord did not wish it, surely the king would have prohibited this part of the ritual. The local way they do things, over the years, it became just like, Chiragopa Chora Gopinath, they offer him a particular type of sweet rice, or they do things in a particular fashion, just like we dress Radha Giridhari in a particular way. So there's different, it actually becomes, I forget the Sanskrit name, but that the way the deity, the local mood of worshiping the deity becomes part of the actual archana, the actual standard. So this is the way they, of course, Lord Jagannath, originally he was worshipping by the Shabaras. I mean, I don't want to go too far afield. So there's a little, kind of freewheeling style there in the worship of Lord Jagannath. So that's the argument. Swarup Damodar says, no, don't be so strict. Do we know someone else who was super strict and wanted to change, and I don't want to give too big a hint, the standard of worship other than Dravida? Anyone know? Ramanujacharya, who was Ramanujacharya, of course. And he tightened everything up, the nice strict South Indian standard. And what happened? The next day they were just about to initiate all these new standards. What happened to Ramanujacharya? Lord Jagannath, he went to sleep at night. Next morning he was going to go with the king of Puri and make sure everything was being done properly. He woke up the next morning, he was Alanath, isn't it? Yeah, he'd been thrown, I don't know how many miles. And Lord Jagannath said, don't come back. I like the way they do it. So there's different styles. Now, continuing. The Supreme Lord, so there's this argument. Why are they washing these starched clothes? Swarup Damodar says, no, this is the way they do it. This is their standard. Don't be so strict. They've got their standard. The Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya, knew everything about Srila Vidyanidhi's views on the starched clothes. Therefore, he took the form of Lord Jagannath, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, took the form of Lord Jagannath, and together with Balaram, he appeared in the dream of Srila Vidyanidhi. In his dream, Srila Vidyanidhi saw that both Jagannath and Balaram were extremely angry, and they began to slap him on the cheeks. Red marks appeared on his flushed cheeks. Srila Vidyanidhi woke up from his dream and began to laugh. Feeling the marks on his cheek, he said, quote, "This is wonderful. I was offensive and I have been punished. The Lord slapped me with his transcendental hand. I was lucky to get away with just this much." One who hears about the character of Srila Pundarik Vidyanidhi will surely be rewarded with the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So if you remind me, I can share next time in class, we can talk about some of Lord Jagannath's, for our Mayapur Jagannath and some of his sublime activities. Lord Jagannath has a very sporting mood. So we'll talk about that some other time. And the point is, when he was criticizing the pujaris, that we should be careful about criticizing Vaishnavas, and we don't know what's in their heart and what their mood is, so we have to be a little careful. Okay, so Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna Swadamo Bhagate Damakanadi Bisaha Kalanda Sadasham Mesha Parano Kodiro Data Narayana Namaskritchandaram Chaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Bhagavatam, Mrs. Brinda's son, is arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision through the dense darkness of this age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. Did we say Om Namo Bhagavate 3 times? Okay. Tapasa Vidyaya Pakva Kashayo Niyamaya Yamai Yuyuje Brahmani Atmanam Vichitakshana Tapasa Vidyaya Pakva Kashayo Niyama Yamai Yuyuje Brahmane Atmanam Vijitagshani Lashaya Tapasa Vidyaya Pakva Kashayo Niyamayamai Yuyuje Brahmane Atmanam Vijitagshani Lashaya Tapasa Vidyaya Pakva Kashayo Niyamayamai Yuyuje Brahmane Atmanam Vijitachani Lashaya Tapasa Vidyaya Pakva Kashayo Niyamayamai Yuyuje Brahmane Atmanam Vijita Lakshanaya Siha Tapasa Vidyaya Lakshan Kashayo Niyamayalha Yuyuje Brahmane Atmanam Vijitaksha Nilasita Tapasa Vidyaya Pakva Tapasa, austerity. Vidyaya, by education. Pakva, burned up. Kashaya, all dirty things. Niyamai, by regular principle. Yamai, by self-control. Yuyuje, he fixed. Brahmani, in spiritual realization. Atmanam, his self. Vijita, completely controlled. Aksha, senses. Anila, life. Ashaya, consciousness. By worshipping, executing austerities, and following the regular principles, King Malayadvaja conquered his senses, his life, and his consciousness. Thus, he fixed everything on the central point of the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Also, you say, by worshipping, executing austerities, and following the regular principles. King Malayadvaja conquered his senses, his life, and his consciousness. Thus, he fixed everything on the central point of the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Purport. Whenever the word Brahman appears, the impersonalists take this to mean the impersonal effulgence, the Brahmajyoti. Actually, however, Param Brahman, the Supreme Brahman, is Krishna, Vasudeva, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Vasudeva Savam Iti. Vasudeva extends everywhere as the impersonal Brahman, one who cannot fix one's mind on one cannot fix one's mind on an impersonal something. Bhagavad Gita 12:5 therefore says, Klesho dikataras tesham avyakta shakta chetasam. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifest, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. Consequently, when it is said here that King Malayadvaja fixed his mind on Brahman, Brahman means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Oma gena timarandasya gena gena salakaya jakshushur maditangina tazure shri gurave namaha. So just a few preliminaries before we get to the heart of the matter. As Prabhupada used to say about the Brahman or the universal form, Prabhupada used to say, where will you hang the garland? How will you do arti to the Brahman? Where will you? Here we're fixing the crown, putting sandalwood on the lotus feet. It's full absorption in so many ways. But how will you? In fact, when Krishna saw that, when Arjuna saw the universal form, what was his mood? Completely struck with fear and shock, and the original shock and awe. Also, Prabhupada gives the example, if we want to, moisture is present everywhere in the air. Therefore, they measure it. It's called humidity, right? So moisture is there, 46%, 75% if it's raining, whatever it is, right? So we all know that. Now, when you're thirsty, because moisture is in the air, do you just, what do you think, Bhakti Glenn? Does that quench your thirst? It's worth a try. Yeah, but you won't stay at it very long. Where do you go? Prabhupada says you go to the faucet where the water is concentrated. So we want to see concentrated Brahman. We want to see Krishna, Shama Sundar standing beautifully. That actually quenches the thirst. That actually fixes the mind. So just a little preface on that. And who can help me out here? One of the arguments why the Brahman is subordinate to the transcendental form Shama Sundar. What is how to say it? From Sri Upanishad, who can quote a mantra other than Dravida and Vijay? Other than Ramapati? Other than Ramapati? Anyone know? It's a key verse. Invocation. And a word is repeated many, many times in that invocation. Om Purnam, Purnam. Let's count. Om Purnam, Ada Purnamidam, Purnat Purnam Udachate, Purnasya Purnam Adaya, Purnam Eva Vasisyate. So that's 5 times minimum that I counted the word Purnam. Now what does the word Purnam mean? It means complete. So if the absolute truth is, we've understood the light, and everybody's supposed to be so impressed by that. We found the one in all things. I've seen the light. Everyone's supposed to be so impressed by that, But in order to be Purnam, fine, we understand that aspect, but what is Purnam? What does Krishna have to be complete? The absolute truth? Damodar Kumar, what does the absolute truth have to be complete? Yeah. How is it that we all have something that the absolute doesn't have? It doesn't make any sense at all. Sorry. First line of Shirsh Upanishad smashes the whole thing. And it's logical. It's common sense. Okay. It's like the Emperor's No Clothing. Their whole the Emperor's No Clothing? I don't want to tell the whole story. But the Emperor was so pompous that he was cheated. This cloth is woven so fine that, only someone of your refined senses can actually feel it. The rest of the mortals, just see how it shimmers in the wind, There's nothing there. It's just a complete scam. But the guy, based on false ego, wanted to, And the Emperor goes out dressed in his so-called fine clothing. And finally one child says, "Hey, you don't have a stitch of clothes on, you idiot!" And everyone starts to laugh. So they're just, as long as nobody calls their bluff, and that's Prabhupada's job. That's the business of the Vaishnavas, to call their bluff in so many ways. Nobody else has the courage. Truth to power, that's the original Vaishnava. So there it is. Now, what I wanted to talk about, other than addressing Prabhupada's points in the purport, and relationship, frankly, to the Christmas marathon, and we'll get there in a moment. There's a line from T.S. Eliot, and it's called The Hollow Men. It's nice, a great poem. I didn't have a chance to look it up. Prabhupada will quote poetry sometime, even Shakespeare sometimes, so there's no harm. And the poem is called The Hollow Men, and it was written after the end of World War II. And it was, the last line is, "How will the world end?" And he says, the world will end not with a bang, but with a whimper. And the point he's making, it's a great poem, I got to find it, but, whatever. But the point is that people are not becoming more powerful and more exalted and, we're conquering, the outer edges of the universe. No, they're becoming reduced to nothing but little gerbils. Little, working 50 hours a week slaving away at the fender bender factory or some, whatever it is, in some little office in a little cubicle, slaving away for a little, grain of rice. That's how the world will end people. And what I wanted to read to confirm it, and there's a reason we're making this point. We'll get there, don't worry. I wanted to read from the first canto, first chapter, verse 10 of the Bhagavatam. And it's one of those so many great purports. Everything Prabhupada says is fantastic. But here's the verse. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, people will be but short-lived. They will be quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. This is the default mode of people in this. It's not glorious. Somebody said, they're so opulent in the West. Prabhupada said, you're opulent. You don't even have, your opulence is glass and plastic. And then Prabhupada, which we often would do, would double down, Prabhupada would say, you don't even have the opulence of one moment's peace of mind. Don't talk to me about opulence. It's not opulent society. And then here's Prabhupada's, but this is what's going on out there. Bhagavatam is, reality tours. It's where the rubber meets the road. It's right there, news you can use. So this is who's out. This is what the whole, what is it producing? The Himalayas, they gave birth one time. You can imagine. What does Krishna say about the Himalaya mountains in Bhagavad Gita? Of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. And there's no mountain, there's no Andes, forget the Rockies. Nothing comes close to the Himalayas. It's called the rooftop of the world. So you can imagine the Himalaya mountains shaking, and they're about to give all the devas, everyone assembled. What's going to come out? They're giving birth. Anyone know? Ram, what came out? A few mice. A little pack of mice came out. So their big society, all their big talk. What was Prabhupada's classic example? That America is the richest nation in the world. You're so proud, but what are you producing? Hippies. Shruti Kirti told me, when Prabhupada, we're out of field, but it's all right. Shruti Kirti told me when Prabhupada went to Hawaii, they had a lecture at the University of Hawaii, best university on the Hawaiian Islands. Well, everybody's all blowing pot on the hill and half naked and all. Prabhupada innocently asked, where are the students? They said, Prabhupada, these are the students. Prabhupada was shocked. What is this, So they're gerbils. What a gerbil is? Like a little hamster. It's a little squeaky mouse, That's all they become. They're big society, big machines, big talk. They're now giving out, close to a $1 trillion relief package. We can't even conceive of $1 trillion. And somebody gets a $600 check, doesn't even pay their past due rent or mortgage. It's just... So, here's what Prabhupada describes. Here's how they're actually living. This is because it talks about their life, their senses, their consciousness. He conquered these things. So what is the state of life out there? Prabhupada nails it. Prabhupada says, in the age of Kali, people are victims not only of different political creeds and parties. Look at the traumatic election everybody's like ready to kill each other. But also many different types of sense gratificatory diversions, such as, I love this list, cinemas, sports, gambling, clubs, mundane libraries, bad association, smoking, drinking, cheating, pilfering, bickering, and so on. That's what's going on. When you drive down the road, at night, and there's lights in all the houses, you're driving in La Jolla or driving in East LA, this is what's happening. Cinemas, sports, gambling, clubs, mundane libraries, bad association, smoking, drinking, cheating, pilfering, bickering, and so on. Their minds are always disturbed and full of anxiety due to so many different illusory engagements. That is what's going on. So, what to do about it? We'll get there. Thank you, though. I'm just trying to think how to... It's talking here about how the king performed tapasya. Now, tapasya, as I understand it, one of the roots of tapasya or austerity is fire. Yeah. So, and I remember, first off, the necessity of tapasya. I mean, I'll be frank, book distribution is a tapasya. Getting out of our warm bed, getting out of our comfort zone, getting out of our schedule, it's a tapasya. Why in the world should I do it? Are Vijay, me, are we cruel? Do we enjoy seeing the devotees struggling and suffering? It actually, our intent is to see you unhappy. Why? I mean, we'll get into it in a second, some of the reasons. But the point I'm trying to make is tapasya. What is the value of tapasya? Fire does what? What do they do when you want to sterilize something? It burns off all the impurities. You put it in the fire, all the incrustation that's there is burned off. It becomes pure, becomes sterilized. So we just read this whole list of all this stuff is rattling around in our brain. I got a cartoon, I forget who sent me. I love it. And they've done brain surgery. The guy's in the hospital bed. Picture the scene. He's in the hospital bed. His head's all bandaged up. They've obviously done some surgery. And the doctor's there, and he's saying, we found this in your head. And what is in his head is one of those little monkeys. Those little monkeys, they still have those? You wind up with a bang, 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 bang. We've got that in our head. Fear, guilt, shame, anxiety, lust, greed, anger, bang, 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 bang. It's just going around in our head. Bang, 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 bang. So, and it's everybody. So, how to get rid of it? Austerity is intended to purify that, to remove all of that. The fire of austerity. Because then we become free. I remember reading in Bhagavad Gita when I was, first... whatever, before I moved into the temple, became a devotee, all that stuff. I was just reading Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's Gita. And I remember there was a line there, the regulative principles of freedom. And when it first hit me, it was along with action and inaction, and inaction, inaction. Appears to be an oxymoron, like military intelligence, marital bliss, smart bomb, country music. It appears to be an opposite of terms, right? Regulative principles of freedom. How do you square that? Action in inaction? Inaction in action? How do you square that? So, and I remember thinking austerity, purification. Okay, I need to be purified. I remember reading books about Christian mystics. I mean, they do some pretty far out stuff. They're wearing those camel or mohair or whatever it's called, clothing, sack clothing that's like burlap. It's scratchy and itchy. You go to some of those old... You can go up here to, the mission where that's what's his name? Junipero Serra? What's his name? The original guy who started the California missionary system. The guy was living on a shelf, a stone shelf. Had a little quilt. Not even a quilt. That's what he was saying. I mean, these guys were austere. Stigmata, they'd get the mark. I mean, they were going through a lot of stuff. And I remember thinking, I can never do that. Or I'd read books about, yogis living in the Himalayas on one chickpea. I can't do that. If that's what it takes, I'm tossing in the chips now. I might as well just... What's the use? But what austerity can we practice? Here it's being described. If we accept, this is our mental state, consciousness. We've got pilfering, bickering, quarreling, lust, greed, anger, bang, bang, bang. I got to get free from these things. I'm never going to be happy. Krishna says about Bhagavad Gita about what's the nature of lust. Of course, Krishna says a lot of things, but burns like fire. What is the analogy, Bhakti Glenn? Yeah, the more fuel you throw in the fire, the bigger it gets. It's the complete antithesis of the whole materialistic, capitalistic, consumptuous society, which the whole world is chasing. America's at the apex, and everybody's chasing after it. And it's all based on consumerism. Newer, newer, bigger, bigger, new and improved, get more, get better. Then it doesn't, they're all becoming gerbils and bickering and pilfering. So there it is. So okay, that's the state. Now how does it become? I got to become purified, which requires austerity. But I can't do this stuff. What's my alternative? But the alternative we can do is we can go out on Sankirtan. And what is the nature? By the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that thing therapeutically treated. What is Vaish's mantra about book distribution? It is fun and it is easy. It's actually fun. And we're going to tell a few stories in a minute, a few things about that. But it's actually, well, the problem is our mind. The problem is our senses. I'm not comfortable. I know what that's like. We all know what that's like. But who is that telling you that? Is that the eternal spirit soul? Is that yourself? That is... What is he saying? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We should learn, anybody here like to be cheated? If I just, so Dravita's nodding asleep because he works hard. If I go over there and pick his pocket and take his computer, is he happy with that? Hey, what happened? What is that? Nobody likes to be cheated. Nobody likes it. And yet we are being cheated. We have a cheater living in our head. And we've made him, what is it that if the wife is unchaste, if the son is a fool, if the servant is envious, all these different things. Chanakya Pandit says, go to the forest. Don't stay there. But we've got in our head a cheater who's just at the same stupid thing again and again. Oh, make your body comfortable. Oh, make me comfortable. Oh, feed your lust. Feed your anger. Oh, be envious. Bang, 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 bang. Well, what are we going to do about it? Just keep dancing? What do they say? Is that musical chairs, but the music never stops. You just got to keep going around and around. We want to become free from it. So this is an opportunity. Now, we're skimming over because of the time factor, but we should understand what's going on the marathon. Why are we doing it? Begrudgingly? No, because you guys are saintly and you want to do it. We're not, if they won't feed me. No, you don't go out, we'll still feed you, don't worry. So why? One of the reasons, okay, we want to do our part. 2 million Bhagavad Gitas, 5,000 SanDiego's quota. We want to do it. How are we going to do it? So we want to all be part. That's a good thing. It's team, I'm part of the team, I want to do it. That's good. That's a great thing. 1,300, Damodar's looking at me, but I'm thinking of something else. What's another reason to go out on Sankirtan? We all know it. Patita Pavana. What does that mean? We want to give mercy to these folks. They are really, we think we got troubles. At least we know, they don't even know. I'm trying to think of that line Prabhupada says, Prabhupada said, not only do not know the answers, you don't even know the right questions. That's why Bhagavad Gita is spoken. We don't even know what to speak of the answers, we don't even know the questions. They know that they're miserable, but maybe I need more intoxication, maybe I need a new girlfriend, maybe I need a faster car, maybe whatever it is. They don't even know what the problem is. At least we know, oh, geez, it's my mind, it's my senses, it's my false ego. At least we know what it is, and we know what to do about it. Now, the rate of our advancement, how much we can surrender, how fast it takes, how conditioned we are, there's all kinds of variable factors in the equation, sure. But at least we have the solace, I know what's wrong, and I know how to get rid of it. They're not even at that point. And the more we practice devotional service, the more it actually works. If I just stay on this, okay, what is it? I've found the enemy, and the enemy is us. That's the enemy. We're the only one that's... They asked Prabhupada, how long does it take to become Krishna conscious? Anyone know Prabhupada gave it so many times? In a moment. It simply depends on us. Now, I can speak for myself. I want to become Krishna conscious to a certain percentage, but it hasn't happened immediately because I got all kinds of stuff going on. But the point is, at least we know, we have confidence. Okay, I know what's wrong, I know what to do about it, and I know it works. I mean, that's pretty far out. Repeat after me. How are we different than the karmis? They're suffering, we're suffering. Okay, fine, we agree. There's, physical, we're in a body, when things happen, we suffer. So how are we different? I just named 3 ways that we're different, and they're sequential. We know what's wrong. Okay. All right, so I know what's wrong, but what's the next thing other than Dravida? We know what to do about it. So we know what's wrong, we know what to do about it, and what is the sweet, what do they call it, the sweetener in the deal? We know that it works. To the degree that we practice it, it actually works. Your mind's all over the place. You just put your arms up and you begin to dance at kirtan. Guess what? You feel better. You have a rough day out there on Sankirtan. You come home to a nice plate of prasadam. You feel better, You chant, your mind's all over. We all know it. You sit and chant some nice, peaceful, serious japa. Oh, thank heaven. I guess what it wasn't such a big deal after. I was all worked up. Maybe it wasn't such a big deal. So there it is. In so many ways, we are better. So we go out to give mercy. We go out because we want to be part of the team, and we realize it's a valuable goal, Christmas Marathon, all over the world. We also feel sorry for these people, because we are in such a better place. But it is an opportunity. It's a chance for internal growth. If our problem is our conditioning, which is covering the conditioned soul, and it has to be removed by the fire of tapasya. Prabhupada says if you drop a jewel into the dirt, if it becomes encrusted by... There was a Buddha. He's called the Emerald Buddha. Ooh, what's the time? The Emerald Buddha. He's in Burma. And the reason he's called the Emerald Buddha, he's not that big. Relative. He's about this big. It's a beautiful Buddha. Solid emerald. It's like, where will you find a stone that big? I mean, it's just like inconceivable from the heavenly planets or something. But the thing is, because they were always fighting and this and that, the monks covered him with clay. So it painted beautifully. And then something like not that long ago, maybe 75 years ago, not that long, he was in a beautiful temple. They knew he was an old Buddha. But the point I'm trying to make is they were cleaning him, and a chunk of plaster came off. And they looked, and they could see this beautiful green inside. And they did an x-ray. He was completely covered with this clay, plaster, whatever it is, alabaster, whatever you call it. And but underneath was he. So whatever the layers of covering, that emerald, the real Buddha underneath, always remained constant, just needed to be discovered and cleaned up. We are pure spirit soul. We are Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, eternally, full of knowledge, happiness. This is completely free from fear and anxiety. That's our default mode, but we're covered. So, and the only cure is we've got to have it uncovered. And the way we uncover that is by tapasya. So if we think of it that way, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it so easy. Just go out. See people. Try to engage them in Krishna consciousness. You get in an argument. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. When you lose the argument, what do? Punch them in the nose? Go home and read. What was their argument? Geez, I could have answered that better. Go home, read Krishna book, Chaitanya Charitamrita. I guarantee you, if you're out on Sankirtan and you have a struggle answering a question, go home, read for half an hour, and you'll find the answer. It'll appear. You'll just read it. There it is, Bhagavad Gita. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna, doesn't matter what you're reading. The answer will come. I've had it happen so many times. So the simple point I'm trying to make is that anyway, so many things to say, and I want to end with something. As Vaisheshika Prabhu says, and he makes this point a lot of times in so many different ways, but we are tiny jivas. We're little tiny jivas. And we get influenced by so many things. It's not easy being a jiva. Marginal potency, pulled this way. You know, like the cartoons, they got the angel on one side and the devil on the other. It's not easy being a jiva, little jiva, you know? And I'll just repeat it. He said, the day begins the night before. If we're going to go out on Sankirtan, we have to be strong. Prabhupada says the temple is a fort from which we go out to fight Maya. So if you're going to go out and fight, what do you need? What'd you say? Yeah. You got to have weapons. You got to have some strength. Right? If you're going to go out there, if you're getting in a fight, you got to be serious. You got to have some weapons. So, nice japa in the morning, dancing at Mangalarti, and this point that the day begins with the night before. If you stay up till 10 o'clock eating halava, fiddling around on your computer, and you wonder why you can't concentrate on japa, and you feel like you get a bowling ball in your stomach, well, guess why? So this is serious stuff. At least for the next, till the 10th of January, it's serious stuff. And it's a real chance to purify ourselves, to purify our heart. It's a chance to get all this garbage, get some freedom, get some relief, get some peace, get a real taste. It's a golden, what do they say in a sale? You know, one day only sale, discount. It's like, that's what it is. It's the, I think of blue light, but it's the blue light special. Okay, so I wanted to tell, so just a quick few meditations and then some stories. And we'll be done. We may be small. We're talking about being small jivas. But who's our friend? Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. That's a big hint. Krishna's our friend. And Krishna's big. He's the biggest. He's Ajita. He has never conquered. So we may be, how am I going to convince these people to buy books? How am I going to, stay out there all day long? How am I going to do it? Well, we're small. That's a fact. But if we just depend on Krishna, Krishna's big, Krishna will help us. But we have to put our... It's like if you don't have a handle, you can't get a hold of the thing. You're trying to grab onto some mercury. You can't. There's no handle. You can't. Mercury. How? Just I don't recommend you handle it, but you can't get a hold of it. Water. Okay. You got to have a handle on it. If you've got a handle, then you can. Isn't it? So when we go out and put ourselves on the line and pray, it gives Krishna a handle. He can hold on to us. He can pull us this way. He can pull us that way. He can lift us up. But if we don't go out, if we don't put ourselves on the edge for Krishna, there's no handle. What's he going to do? So we may be small. We may think we can't do it, but Krishna's big. And I guess I'll just say this, because we want to... When I was talking with... We should remember the value of what we're putting in people's hands. Balaram was giving a nice class yesterday. They were going to get rejected. Monks, since time immemorial, Christian monks, Buddhist monks, Sufi monks, Vaishnavas, of course, They go out and beg. What is the reason they beg? Is it to support the ashram? Why do they go out and beg? Why do we go out and beg? What? Okay, to purify them? Okay, but why else? That's a good answer. Humility. Because you get humbled. They say so many nasty things. I mean, the devotees in the airport in Chicago, the baggage handlers used to go take a book, go and pass stool in the book, and hand it back to the devotee. Now that's pretty tough. That's rough, I tell you so many stories about the Chicago airport. But the point, we'll have to do that some other time. But the point is that by begging, we become humble. You become neutral. You become equipoised. It's a gift. I don't really care what you think. I heard Prabhupada say on the tape, well, as far as I think, and Prabhupada said, frankly, sir, we don't care what you think. Were you with me, Mukunda? We were at some college class. Just for fun, I told the kids, they were all, oh, and I said, to tell you the truth, what you think doesn't matter one pinch. Man, you could hear a pin drop. I definitely had their attention. I had to look where the door was, for a quick exit. But I just wanted to test it out. The idea that our opinion doesn't matter, who cares what you think? What matters are the Shastra. But the point I'm making is that, do we really care what they think? I mean, does it matter? There used to be a dog, Roscoe. I've told as many Roscoe stories. But Dharma Seder made the point, when the dog's snarling and growling, do we go into therapy? Do you go get a dog suit from the Halloween costume and try to relate the dog? You want to make sure the dog likes you? Anybody do that? Mukunda, do you feel, low self-esteem because the dog barked at you? It's a dog, It's like you just like water off a duck. What's a dog? I'm not calling these people dogs, but I'm saying that we know what matters. We are Krishna's devotees. We have the absolute truth, and we can actually help them. So we should be confident of what we're actually doing. Now, we're going to be rejected. In my householder days, we had a business. I had to put my kids through college. I had a lot of things. I had to pay my rent. And we also had to pay off the mortgage on this temple the first time around. It was a lot, there was some pressure, definitely some pressure. And one of the things we had to do, I don't recommend it, it was tough, to sell paintings. And sometimes if we didn't have, later on, it's a whole story, I won't spare you with that. But sometimes we did apartment buildings in the beginning. And here's a big apartment building. We would sneak in, you'd mash a bunch of buttons in a deluxe apartment, and somebody would think, oh, the pizza guy's coming or their uncle's coming, and they'd beep you in. They didn't know it was you. They just knew somebody's pumping. You mashed 15 buttons. Somebody will probably let you in. And you usually had about a half hour till the super came and the supervisor and threw you out, And just so many no's. And so many, they open the apartments and it smells bad. You open the apartment and they're half naked. It just, oh, jeez, Put on some clothes before you answer the door, I had somebody answer the door and throw up. I had to jump out of the way. That just sucks, But, and there was a huge apartment building. But what saved my sanity, what's left of it, and it's true. A devotee told me, hey, you know what? There's 55 apartments in there, and in their apartment is one sale. There's a sale in there. You just have to go through them. You just have to, okay, 55, 54, 53, 52, bingo, I'm going to get the guy. Maybe the guy will be the 55th. Maybe he'll be the 16th. Maybe he'll be the 40th. But he's in there. Same thing with SanDiego. They're there. They want these books. They're waiting. Now, maybe it's not this guy, not that guy, not this lady. That zing, 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 zing. Bam, there's the guy. But if you're not out there and you don't go through the no's, you'll never get to the yes. So you got to get through okay, fine. Every no is one step closer to a yes. So I'm a monk. I'm serving Krishna. I should become humble, You're an idiot. Well, he's got a point there. I'm in the material world. I'm an idiot. Whatever it is, it's true. I don't care. But Krishna loves me, and the devotees love me. My spiritual master loves me. And guess what? I'm going back to Godhead. So these are a couple things to think about. And the value of these books. I'm going to finish with this because we are over time. There's a devotee named Brahmananda Puri who passed away. And Radhanath Maharaj was telling me about him. And Brahmananda Puri was in Russia. And he started the Russian BBT. Now the Russian BBT, I hope Alex can hear these. Where is Alex? In the kitchen? We hope. Bang a pot if you can hear me. Well, whatever. Is the speaker working in the kitchen? I hope they've got it on. Because this is what we're part of. This is what we're doing. We're not just stumbling out there because we have to, because we want to be part of the team. We don't want to be a stinker. We're going out there to purify our heart. We're going out to save these people. And they're waiting for it. So, Brahmana, and the power of these books, what's in these books. I told the story how I watched Prabhupada translate, pulling down his Bhagavatam. I thought there were 5 commentaries in Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, but I was reading in that Memories book, and Harikesh says 8 different commentaries. But all the commentaries of different acharyas, all the books of the Goswamis, all of that was flowing into Prabhupada's transcendental brain, like all the glaciers melting in the Himalayas and coming into the Ganga and the Ganga into the ocean. All of that was flowing onto the pages of Prabhupada's Bhagavatam purports. In his books, Bhagavad Gita. It's all there. So, Brahmananda Puri in Russia, in those days, completely oppressive. Workers' paradise, opiate of the people, religion, spiritual thought. He got a handwritten copy of Bhagavad Gita, not even a full copy. People would write by hand a chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verses, translation, purport, word, by hand. And I'd read chapter 1. Sometimes it'd be half a chapter, and I'd give it to Mukunda. And because I gave it to Mukunda, there'd be Ramapati would give me the second half. And when I fixed it the second half, I'd give that to Mukunda. And Mukunda would have given it to Glenn. And Glenn. In this way, handwritten partial copies are floating all over Russia. That's the only way they could get books. Then, remind me, before I finish, to talk about getting books. There's other ways they got books. So Brahmananda Puri, he had a government job. Devotees had so much. One devotee's government job was full employment in the workers' paradise. He'd go at 7 o'clock in the morning, turn on an elevator. Then he had to go back at 6 o'clock at night and turn the elevator off. Full employment in the workers' paradise, So, but there was a printing. He had some government job. I don't know what it was. Turns out there was a printing press in the basement, for churning out the agricultural, 5-year plan or whatever, communist garbage they're pumping out. But they had a printing press. It's amazing with the U.S. printing office or the U.S. Congress, they pump out so much stuff, just rubbish. So he would go in at night because he had a key to the door. After the office was closed with a couple other devotees, they would sneak in at night, and the first books printed in Russia were on a communist government press at night. They'd print the books, and they'd clear everything out, like the mice. They came in and they're gone. In the morning, you don't see a thing. Hey, the press is still warm. I wonder what that's all about, But it was the devotees. And then when the volume increased and they were selling too many books, were out there circulating, he bought a press. He got a press shipped in from Germany in pieces. They had to smuggle it in because every press is registered. Every Xerox machine was registered because they didn't want any propaganda, any of this, any of the truth getting out. They had to ship it in, smuggle it in pieces, and he assembled it in his basement. For a point in time, he was one of the top. The KGB was searching for him Devotees were being, there's so many stories. That book, what is it? Salted Bread. I mean, it's just amazing what they went through to print these books. Ultimately, when the whole thing opened up, when Glasnost and Gorbachev and all that stuff, he'd learned so much about printing, and there was nobody was printing books, just government presses. He got into the printing business, made millions of dollars, and Radhanath Maharaj told me, and now I remember Harikesh saying the same thing, whatever. But he gave millions of dollars from from printing his Karmi business to purchase land in Mayapur. He was right up unsung hero. I was talking to Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj. We got to write an article in BTG. This man is an unsung hero. So started the Russian BBT from hand copies to printing in the basement, risking his life, devotees literally risking their life to give these books to others. That's what's in these books. So, we are doubly, personally, we'll become purified. All the garbage out of our heart. And people are waiting, and whatever rejection, whatever austerity, the mind becomes controlled. The senses become controlled, and we find that jewel out there who's just waiting for one of these books. So we can end there. Thank you very much. Oh, one last thing, because I promised I would say it. You know how one of the ways devotees used to get books in the Soviet Union? The value, people were risking their lives to get these books. St. Petersburg is the warm water port for the USSR. And they have these slow-moving barges. They're all coming up from Europe, and they come in. Evidently, there's a bunch of canals and this and that, and they're slow-moving barges. The devotees would throw cases. They would have devotees who were working on boats. And they would know, okay, hey, we're coming through with this barge. We're coming through at 10 o'clock at night, and we'll be under such and such bridge. And the bridges were low, the barges are high, and devotees they'd be throwing cases of books off to the devotee longshoremen on the boat, who would then stash them in the boat. That's how they were getting them in. Here's another way they were getting books in. I mean, this is what's in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. This is adventure. Get out there and feel the magic. Here's Germany. They cut it in half, East Germany. Now, East Germany is communist, okay, cut in half. Now, Berlin, half of Berlin, which is in the middle of East Germany, was held by the Americans and the Brits and the French. So it was called Free Berlin, half of the city. And it's a whole story, but they had an autobahn, they had a freeway, an autobahn. You could drive from West Germany if you stayed on the Autobahn and go into West Berlin. You had a permit that allowed you to do that, and they didn't search your car. But you could not get off the Autobahn at any of the exits. You could not get into East Germany. You only had a permit to go on the Autobahn from West Germany to West Berlin. Now, if you wanted to go from West Germany into East Germany, they stripped your whole car. They cavity searched you. They stripped your whole car. It took an age to get a permit, and if you got a permit, then you could they sealed the van. It was the whole thing, right? And then you could get in. They would get identical vans, exactly the same. They'd get one permit to go in from West Germany to East Germany. The van would be completely empty. They'd get an identical van with permit to go from West Germany to West Berlin, which they didn't search. They'd fill up that van full of books. They'd find some secret place on the way of the Autobahn, I don't know exactly, some trees, some bushes, some what, and they'd switch license plates. Now, the empty van that was supposed to go to East Germany, that goes on to West Berlin. It's empty. But the van with the books that has the permit, that would now have permission to go into East Germany. They'd drive van loads of books into East Germany. I mean, they had so many far out things they would do. Yeah. Give him the mic. We'll end in a minute.
To go to Russia also was very difficult, communist. So they would fill the van with books, and they would have a dog in the van. Dogs weren't allowed in Russia. So they'd show up, they go to the border there, and they have this dog, and they would say, no, you can't go with the dog. No, that's my dog. You can't take my dog away. No, you can't go with the dog. No, since it's been a baby, it's been my dog. You can't take my dog away. I'm sorry, you can't take your dog into Russia. I'm sorry. No, don't. You're going to kill me. And just going on and on. All right, take it. Van's full of books. They didn't check the van because there's such a big thing on the dog, you know.
It's a diversionary tactic.
Yeah. The dog, they just picked the dog up, you know, a couple of miles before.
And that dog, maybe I was one of those dogs in my previous life, because I did service at the SanDiego. Krishna let me become a devotee, you know.
So they would get through with a van full of books.
So my point is, the simple point is, the value of these books, they changed lives. Krishna is all good, absolute. Everything in touch with him is good. It is all auspicious. Book distribution is good for us individually. It's good for the world. It's good for the conditioned souls. It is all good, absolute. And we are handing out precious jewels. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Don't miss out. You know, people miss, oh, I missed the gold rush, or oh, I missed, whatever. Don't miss out, man. This is the $1 million lottery. Don't miss out. Hey, Govinda.